What is going on, guys? It's Monday, March 29th, and you're tuning in Two and a Half Hoopers, Tony Roten's favorite basketball podcast. I'm here with
Six
Josh
Legend.
Rhodes
Hey guys.
and George Martin, riding high off that UCLA dub, riding high off
Elite
it.
Eight bound,
They
baby.
taking the whole thing?
I don't think so. I think
I'd like to
no.
see him try.
I think
I'd like to see him try.
I think it's Gonzaga's for the taking.
I mean, we'll see. They got that. I like the goatee guy. I don't know his
Timmy.
name.
Drew
Huh?
Timmy. Timmy.
He's nice. I like him. But we got an NBA show for you guys. Good show for you guys. Recap the last few days of ball. A lot of basketball being played. Considering March Madness and the NBA. So I know George had to do his homework tonight as far as catching up on the NBA. But I think he did a good enough job. If it was March Madness podcast, he'd be running it. Then we got George's halftime because even with March Madness, he's on Twitter seeing everything that's been going on. We got a lot for you guys as far as that, the buyout market, the injuries, all that good stuff. And then ending off, we're going to take a look at some of the most lopsided trades of all time in honor of the countless times we've clowned on the James Harden trades so far. And it'll happen a lot more. But remember, if you like what you hear, make sure to follow all our socials at THHoopers, IG, and Twitter. Drop a comment anywhere, and we'll shout you out for giving us support. Yeah, we got a long show. Let's get into it. Friday, March 26th, Suns beat the Raps 104-100. Hornets beat the Heat 110-105. Blazers beat the Magic 112-105. Nuggets beat the Pelicans 113-108. Pacers beat the Mavs 109-94. Jazz beat the Grizz 117-114. The Hawks beat the Warriors 124-108. And the Lakers beat the Cavs 100-86. You may think that was the whole day. No, we got three more to talk about. It was a busy Friday. So first one we're going to dive into here is the Nets beat the Pistons 113-111. And while beating the Pistons isn't an extremely impressive feat, it was the Nets, no Kyrie, no KD. And James Harden had 44 points and 14 boards in the W. And then afterwards said he was the MVP so far this season. I'd add on to that, I believe Charles Barkley also said he's the best player in the league right now. So Chuck dropped that. So what are you guys' thoughts on that, and just also how Harden has played all year as far as that? I'll start with Josh because he's kind of the resident Harden for MVP dark horse the last 8 years, I think.
I don't think it's really a dark horse thing anymore. I mean, no Kyrie, no Durant. The starting lineup was kind of an atrocity. It kind of looked like they were just logging minutes. It was kind of closer than it should have been, but I think it was more just like the Pistons had some garbage time points. But no, Harden is just playing out of his mind. I don't agree with Charles Barkley that he's the best player right now, but I think this year he's got to be at top 3. It's crazy how good, how crazy the change of scenery, what wonders that did for him. He looks happy playing basketball again, and you got Blake Griffin involved, and that's always a good thing to see, because they got so many new players coming in. It's kind of hard to see if that chemistry will just gel well, and Harden's done a great job doing that. And when this team's fully healthy, they might be the most intimidating team in the playoffs.
Well, as far as kind of Pistons scoring garbage time points, it was a 4-point game going into the fourth, so it was a legit close game. And then, I mean, essentially, yeah, this was really just the James Harden game, and then they got Bruce Brown back in the starting lineup. But no one played over 30 minutes besides James Harden, who played 42. So they were. I mean, this really is. I mean, if you want to break it down as far as the MVP, most valuable player, as some people like to do, I mean, this team would be probably 500 ball without him, just because of the Kyrie and KD injuries. And I think the injuries probably worse because they're trying to rush back because they're losing games because Joe Harris is their main ball handler when they're not playing. But no, they got James Harden. So I mean, I think. He's definitely got a case, and he's definitely, if he keeps playing, and doesn't miss a lot of time with injury, because he already has those Rocket States counting against him that probably won't count for MVP voting as far as the voters go. He'll be top 3, because right now I got Jokic, and Embiid and LeBron are going to miss time. Harden keeps putting up these numbers. I mean, I might have to top on the bandwagon with you, Josh. George, what do you stand on this MVP talk, and then also just Harden as a whole this season?
Not much more for me to cover since you guys got the full rundown, but yeah, he has a case. His play has definitely backed it up. Like you mentioned with the Houston thing, that might deter voters away from just the whole situation and him playing there and the Rockets not being good at all, which you can't. I mean, that team's not good, but I still think they're going to hold it against him. Overall, his play, nothing has changed. This is what you would expect from Harden, especially with the stars out. I mean, but just coming in, he's bought in. He's being their lead point guard. with or without Kyrie. He leads the second unit when the stars come out too, when they're healthy. So overall, he's been really great for him, and definitely not. I don't think he's the best. Maybe he's the best player in the league right now because 3 of the top 5 are hurt. So, but he has a case for sure. We'll see what happens. Injuries could happen. Like, I agree with you. I have Jokic at 1. I've had him there for a while. You know that. Giannis might have a case. I don't know. That's a little bit further out because of voter fatigue and the voters. But yeah,
I've been
case
fighting for it just because the stats are there. He's not as good on defense as last year.
his stats are a little bit down in terms of like scoring and other things, but he's also played a lot better. Like when you watch him closing games, he's scoring in other ways that he hasn't in the years past, actually getting to the elbows, getting inside, good footwork, not the run and dunk as everyone likes to say, So he has a case too. We'll see.
Well, speaking of running and dunking, Blake Griffin doesn't do that as much anymore, but he got a lob this weekend. Where does he had 17 points this game, like Josh mentioned, Harden got involved a lot. Only 20 minutes, 5 for 8, 2 for 2 from 3, 5 for 6 from the line. How big of a role is he going to play for this squad, especially when Kyrie and KD come back? And then we're going to get to the Aldridge signing as well. Do you put him definitely ahead of Aldridge in the pecking order? Like, let's get some Nets talk here as far as where Blake Griffin's going to fit in.
For now, yeah, I would put him ahead just because we don't know what Aldridge. I mean, we've talked about this. We think he has something left, but we don't. We got to see it, especially with, in their system. But I actually think this kind of minutes is what we're going to see 20 to 25. I don't expect anything higher just because they like to close with Jeff Green. They love what they have with Nick Claxton, and they should be using him more. Blake Griffin's just kind of be like a minutes eater and just serviceable minutes when he can. Come playoffs, I don't know how big of a role he's going to have, especially now that you're including Aldridge, but rotations do shorten up. So guys like TLC and Tyler Johnson aren't going to be getting 30 minutes and 25 minutes in playoff games. So those minutes will be cut. So more guys like Blake, Claxton, and then eventually Aldridge. But I think 20 to 25 is where he's going to sit for now.
If you're Nash, can I give you the big men? You tell me as far as minutes wise from highest to lowest, do you think they should be playing?
I mean, yeah,
so it's DeAndre, Nick Claxton, Aldridge, and Blake.
I would go. This might sound like a hot take. I'd put Claxton at no, Jeff Green at 1, Claxton 2, Blake 3, Aldridge 4. I really like Claxton, but Green has the experience that you're going to want, especially if you start in later postseason games. Claxton, I love a lot. I think his ceiling's going to be pretty high, but Jeff Green is definitely the best guy that you can start there at the 5.
Gotcha. Joshua, take us home here as far as anything we really talked about, the big man talk or just Blake Griffin in general.
I'm actually going to disagree with George on this one. Okay. I think Blake Griffin's going to be their closer, especially at the 5. I think they have enough height. I don't know if he's going to play the center position, but I just think that they don't mind his spacing ability. Like, he can shoot the 3-pointer. It's not the best, but it's like a legitimate threat. I think their closing is going to be Kyrie, the big 3, obviously, Blake, and then either Jeff Green or Bruce Brown, depending on the situation. I think that's
what about Joe Harris?
No Joe Harris?
No,
they love his spacing, man. He's 60%.
They do, but I just honestly, Jeff Green's got the experience, and Bruce Brown brings the defense with the timely stops.
That's why I think they're gonna put Joe Harris over Bruce Brown, just because Bruce Brown has the history of being in the doghouse, kind of. And that's even fair. This game, Joe Harris 29, Bruce Brown 20, 22. So as far as minutes.
And that's perfectly fair. I mean, I just feel like the 4 that they have are going to kind of be locks just because they've been in those positions before. And I think that it's kind of like a talent issue. George has a good point with Claxton, but again, when things come and get rough, you want people that have been in that position before. Blake brings that. So, and that's why I kind of prioritize Jeff Green a little bit, because that man has been through way too much.
To make sure we don't go into any more tangents, I agree with more George on this one. I think Blake Griffin's he's playing 20 right now. I think he's going to probably cap out most nights at 15 minutes just because they're so talented. And they brought in Aldridge for a reason. Like, they must not want to play Blake this much.
They got a lot of sparks. They got a lot of people that can play.
I think 15. Aldridge and Blake will both hover around that 12 to 15 minute mark, give you a lot of good minutes because they still got stuff in the tank and they can just go balls to the wall for 50 minutes a night and not have to really worry about too much. I lean towards George that way, but I mean, good points all around. Moving on, George talked about Giannis's MVP case. Didn't look good for this game. Celtics, the resident Celtics haters on THHoopers beat the Bucks. Great win beating the Bucks. 122-114 as the game was over by the third. Tatum was a star here with 34 on great shooting, and Robert Williams III got the start without Tristan Thompson. What did you guys see from this one? I'll start with you, Josh, just because, yeah.
George. Oh man. Well, I just started a list recently. It's called the players. I can't think of a name for it, but it's basically the list of players I'm confident can contain the Greek Freak.
Right.
And so on that list we have Joel Embiid, Kawhi Leonard, for obvious reasons. I'm kind of picky, so the only player I would really put on there is Jimmy Butler. I know they both played. And lastly, Jalen Brown. I think Jalen Brown has phenomenal job. He did a phenomenal job when they played a couple nights ago, and he did another phenomenal job again. I mean, yeah, it's 16-8 on 50%. It doesn't look terrible, but it just looked like he was trapped most of the game. Phenomenal job. And of course they had Robert Williams to hedge with his 7'6" wingspan. And this is the threat that the Boston Celtics are when they're making their shots. It's a very, very different ceiling and floor for this team. Marcus Smart finally showed up, and Jason Tatum actually looked like he ate his Subway sandwich. So this is a phenomenal win for them, in all honesty.
Yeah, I was big on this one. Just because, I mean, Kemba 21, Jalen Brown 18. Both did not shoot good.
Sorry,
both
Josh
didn't shoot good. But then, like you said, biggest takeaway from this one: Marcus Smart 23, 8 for 15, 7 for 10 from 3. So now that we're done like praising the Celtics, because great win here without Fournier too. George, I'll ask you, just as like resident Greek Freak guy, when he's getting like locked down, does he become a lot more passive? Because he took 12 shots this game. And like Josh said, Brown was playing very, very good defense on him.
Yeah, he does. I mean, that's what he does in the playoffs too. And that's how teams beat him. They're like, we're not going to let you beat us, pass out. And then Chris Middleton's there to brick shots, and God knows who else. I'm looking at this bench right now.
It was DiVincenzo this game, actually. Middleton's the only one to really shoot over 50%.
Brook Lopez 2 of 10. Like, I've been screaming from the Rockies to get this guy out of here. Dude, I'm just like, I know PJ wasn't playing, but I'm looking at this bench. It looks like when you sim in 2K to 2025 and it's just generated players. Diak, I don't even know who that is. Yanni's brother, Jay Nora, Connaughton.
Better not disrespect Sam Merrill.
Axel Tupain, that's literally a 2K generated player.
Okay, put some respect on Mr. G League, Axel Tupain.
He's in his picture on NBA, like the NBA app, he's wearing the 2014 Nuggets jersey, the JaVale McGee one. It's the weird.
It's hard when this.
So do they need a retool like the Warriors need?
It's too late. It's too late. We passed the deadline, Josh. We passed it. They're looking into bringing in Austin Rivers, which would help with bench production, just scoring in itself, because that's what they really need. Like, they have guys that can play defense, like the Bryn Forbes, the Connaughtons off the bench, as well as their starting lineup. They really need guys who can score. I mean, Sam Merrill had 15, but I mean, if you're getting big contributions from Thanasi, like he was their second leading scorer off the bench, you're not going deep in the playoffs. I'm sorry, I love him, but he can't be your second best guy off the bench.
So I'll ask you, did they lose this one because Giannis got shut down, or because they just couldn't guard the Celtics? Because Celtics made 22 threes here.
Bit of both. You can't have 16 and expect to win against any team when you're, the reigning back-to-back MVP. And yeah, Tatum went off. They didn't guard how they usually should guard, and that's basically the writing on the wall for this game.
So what's if there's no Brook? Is it PJ? Is that in your wildest dreams? It's PJ instead of Brook in the final.
Yes, because you play Yanni at the 5, and they're so much better.
That doesn't make DiVincenzo not go 5 for 15 though.
True, it's a bad shooting game, but I mean, in general, I'd rather have PJ Tucker playing better defense and allowing Giannis to be like the roll man as the center and just playing better overall, instead of Brook Lopez hucking up 2 for 10.
Quite honestly, George, I'm gonna just rebut, especially in the playoffs when things get kind of rough. I don't like Giannis at the center just because they can easily take him out of the game in terms of defensively, because he's a very active defender, obviously, with his defensive player of the year and his defensive ratings. But teams can just game plan to get him in a position where he has to be at one certain spot as center. Whereas I feel like when he plays like the forward position, he has a little bit more leeway to kind of wander around, and that's a big issue, especially with perimeter
guess what we
teams.
can do then, Josh? PJ Tucker at the 5.
Well, no, so I'll take George's side of this
No.
one. The beauty of playing Giannis at the 5 is you can switch everything.
It's
You can switch everything
that's
against
true.
teams in the East besides the Sixers. That's why I don't want them to play the Sixers, because you can't switch Drew Holiday on the Joel Embiid. You can't do that.
Giannis at
that's
5 against the Sixers. Oh no.
But so yeah, we're kind of rambling on again. But I just remember this, like the whole reason they got Drew Holiday was, when Giannis gets taken out of the game, another shot creator, because Chris Middleton can't do it on his own. Drew Holiday only 12 shots here.
COVID.
Marcus
Well, he went.
Smart.
He played 28 minutes. I mean, he
I
didn't
know,
seem
he's-
winded.
he's-
He shot good. But it's just the volume isn't there. And I feel like that's the theme with the Bucks. It's just like,
They don't
man.
look for their shots.
yeah, they don't look for their shots enough, especially their top guys. I mean, like, yeah. What's his brother's name, George? Thomas?
Thanasis.
You can say
Yeah.
Thanasis. I say
Okay.
Thanasi.
Yeah, he shot 11 shots, same as Chris Middleton. So, like, that's the problem with this team. Like, he's always looking for a shot because he's like, I'm just like my brother. He ain't. He's not good. So, I mean, he's my new Wendell Carter Jr. because I think he'll do better in Orlando. So the other Antetokounmpo, I don't like him, but yeah, we'll wrap that up there. But yeah, great one for the Celtics. Back-to-back podcast giving the Celtics their due diligence props.
We got to be more. What's the word? We can't be as biased. Got to give teams their credit.
I just state my opinion. My opinion most of the time leads on to hating the Celtics. But good trades, good win. We move. Last game of Friday, Minnesota beat the Rockets 101-107. And the game featured two great runs. Rockets outscored the Wolves 62-43 in the two middle periods. And the Wolves ended the game on a 22-0 run to secure the W. Great game. Just your guys' overall thoughts on this one. Shouldn't be as long as last two, but just overall thoughts on the Wolves kind of go on that 22-0 run. Who wants to start?
I mean, I can, I guess.
Josh will take it away.
It's I mean, it's the Rockets, man. Like it sucks. It sucks. Like it's not great. Another great game for Cat, almost a triple double. I mean, that's what we like to see continuously. One thing I will mention though is that Daniel House is kind of taking a backseat, and now they're playing Kenyon Martin Jr. and Kevin Porter. I know Kevin Porter didn't play this game, but he played on Saturday.
We'll mention him next game.
Kenyon Martin Jr. getting minutes, and they're starting the tank. So there's going to be games like this. So
I guess I kind of put you guys in a corner just because like it is the Timberwolves Rockets. We'll kind of combine their baseball style series. Rockets won the second one pretty easily. They got that Porter Jr. and Wall backcourt now, and then like you said, they're giving Kenyon Martin Jr. a lot of minutes. So what are your guys' overall thoughts on kind of the youth movement that's going on in Houston?
It's basically the only thing they have now.
But like, are you hopeful for it? Like,
yeah, I am.
Yeah. They got talent.
Jayshawn Tate is good and nice. Kevin Porter's obviously a pretty good gem from Cleveland.
Sounds like he's crying.
They have a war chest of picks, as we like to call it. So hopefully they can hit. But I think this is the right thing to do.
Well, I mean, looking at their team now, they have a decent youth movement, but like we've discussed many times, I don't know which of their own picks they have, so I don't know how long this like tank movement can last.
Talking about the Rockets brings depression at this point.
Wolves. I normally ask this every time we bring them up because when they have a fun game. Still last in the West. Do you have them finishing last in the West?
If not last, it's 14th. It's going to be them or the Rockets.
I'm gonna take the Rockets at 14.
I'm gonna take the Rockets too. I think
full blown tank for Houston, eh?
Yeah. Hopefully, Silas better get the Brett Brown treatment where he's not fired, like for any reason for the next 3 years. As long as he wants to be there, like just let him coach because he's a good coach, but he's not gonna have any talent there. Moving on to Saturday, March 27th. Not as busy of a day, but still pretty busy day. Wizards beat the Pistons 106-92. Yeah, Josh. Yeah, they won. Beat them more than the Nets did. So
they beat the Pistons.
But you were flexing a Pistons L on us with the Nets thing.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. Knicks beat the Bucks at 102-96. Would be a worse loss than the Celtics one, but Bucks were missing 4 of the 5 starters, including Giannis. The only starter there was Georgia's favorite starter, Brook Lopez. Rockets got revenge, beat the Timberwolves 127, like we talked about. Pelicans beat the Mavs 112-103 with no Luka or Porzingis. Celtics beat the Thunder 111-94. Jazz beat the Grizzlies 126-110. First game we're kind of going to dissect here. Or I should say, we're going to let Costa Pravis dissect.
Let's go.
Nikola Vucevic had his first game at the Bulls, and it went kind of like his games in the Magic, led them in scoring, 21 points, and they got the L. So that's how it kind of goes to Nikola Vucevic. But we're big Vuce guys here. Chicago was a winner of the trade deadline for all of us, I would assume.
Yeah.
So like most Bulls-related topics, on the pod, we're going to get a quote from number one Chicago sports fan, Costa Pravis. Unfortunately, it's not about the Chicago Bears because I know he's much more passionate about what's going on over there with them. But got it right here in the notes. This is from Costa Pravis. How great is it not to see number 34 at the center position? That's Wendell Carter Jr. for everyone at home. He also hates him. Vuce came in and had an immediate effect on the Bulls, and while they did lose to San Antonio by 16, Vuce put up 21 and 9 in his first game. All game long, you could tell Kobe White, Zach LaVine, and Tomas Satoransky were trying to force feed Vuce. 14 turnovers and a lot of miscommunication by the Bulls ultimately killed the Bulls. But in the words of the almighty Nikola Vucevic, we haven't played together long enough yet. Billy Donovan asked Vuce if he wanted to get back in the fourth quarter and play minutes even though it was kind of over. And Vuce said, I need to get as much playing time with my new teammates as possible. It also shows unselfishness. So yeah, thank you, Costa, for that one. I caught the highlights, but I'm sure Costa watched the whole game. So Josh, you got something to add here?
I think the Bulls, he kind of hit it on the nose with the Bulls. So I'll look at it from the other side. The Spurs played a phenomenal game, and I think that's more to why the Bulls lost. Most notably, Jakob Poeltl missed one shot at 20 and 9. That's kind of concerning if you're the Bulls, because we talked about the defense, but I didn't think it would be that bad.
How many points?
7 players.
20.
Huh? 20 and 9.
Because my main
That's
point
bad.
at the deadline was like, Vuce gonna give it up on the defensive, but he'll get it back to you on the offensive end. He got 1 point back on the offensive end. So
Yep. They had 7 players in double figures. Spurs played a very well-rounded game, and the Bulls kind of looked sloppy, but you expect it. So, I mean, kind of expect a result.
do you guys think it'll be a theme? Kind of them force feeding Vuce? Do you think it'll last maybe a game or two, and then they'll kind of get back into their more relaxed sets, which still will involve Vuce, but it won't be as force feeding.
No, I think it's
it'll
gonna
be
be
Go ahead, George.
I think it's gonna be more of a 2-man game. I see LaVine as the number one option, which I don't know what you guys feel like, but definitely more of a 2-man game. Pick and rolls are gonna be the biggest thing for them. Pick and pops too, because I know Vuce can do that. But yeah, this more force feeding. I think it's more of trying to get him acclimated to the system, which I don't know if force feeding him is necessarily doing it, but they want him to feel acclimated with the teammates and how they all run.
Josh.
I agree, but I think it's going to last a little bit longer, like a week and a half. They might lose a few more games, and then everybody will get over dramatic about the Bulls, and then Zach LaVine will have a 50-point game, and then we'll be back to normal. The Bulls hovering around 500, maybe.
You guys had I had them getting the 6th seed after the trade. Where do you guys have them finishing? Are they a play-in squad, or are they securing a guaranteed playoff spot?
I'm gonna go play-in just because they're gonna need time to gel, and they're still relatively young. Outside of Vuce, you're going to have growing pains again from Kobe White, P. Will, and even Markkanen is inconsistent on nights. But yeah, they are for sure going to make a play in, health provided.
Josh, anything to add here?
No, the Raptors kind of gave up all hope when they traded for one of 9, Gary Trent Jr.
Oh, sweet.
So, I mean, I have them as a plan spot. I think that they're kind of in this weird position where they're not good enough to kind of compete for a playoff, like a lock, but they're also not bad enough to be worse than the struggling teams. So I think
no man's land.
Yeah.
Which is the worst, which is honestly the worst place to be in the NBA.
Yeah.
They are in the worst spot right now, but
really
they're on the uphill. So I think that this year there's going to be some growing pains, but they'll get a plan.
So you think their potential for next year will get them out of no man's land?
They'll get maybe 5th or 6th seed if they figure it out.
Okay, all right. Thank you again, Costa. Much love as always. Next big Bulls game, we're getting another quote from you because I'll start watching them again though because I was only boycotting because Wendell Carter Jr. and now he's gone. So I mean,
we like the Bulls again.
Wait, the Bulls are back. Moving on. The Clippers beat the Sixers 122-112 without Embiid. That's still quite impressive as they've been great without him, honestly. Kawhi and PG both at over 20, but the biggest storyline here, at least for us, I was talking with George here, youngster Terrence Mann. Me and George love Terrence Mann. We think he could be really, really good for this Clips team. He had 23 off the bench on 10 for 12 shooting for the Clips. How valuable will depth really be for the Clips here if they're finally going to go all the way? I'll start with you, George, because Terrence Mann boys.
Yeah, depth will be important for them just because we kind of saw last season how, when the stars aren't having it and the bench doesn't have it either, it leads to a monumental collapse of a 3-1 lead. And it's important too because I feel like outside of their wings, their guard play has been struggling the most, especially because you're starting Reggie Jackson. That's not what you want the best. And I know Pat Bev has been hurt a lot, so it also helps when Terrence Mann can step up a lot. I actually like him over the Kennards. Actually, there's really not many other point guards.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna get at. Like, there's not a whole lot of
they did just add Rondo, as we talked about last pod, so he's gonna get more minutes there. But I mean, just for some stretches, I'd like to see Mann even close a few games if Ty Lue could do that, just to see what they have in him there. But if they go smaller, second units, maybe even, he should definitely have a role in the rotation going forward.
Just that way, because you mentioned a few things about the rotation. One, do you have Rondo starting, or is Reggie Jackson going to keep that one role?
I think Pat Bev would start, actually, for now. Rondo could start, but you probably want him to come off the bench, just like he did last year with LA.
So looking at it now, it would be Patrick Beverley, and then obviously their good wings, Marcus Morris and Zubac. Then they got Terrence Mann, Nick Batum, Patterson, Kennard if he is not in the doghouse or not. And then, Reggie Jackson, who could kind of fill in for that Lou Will role.
Yeah, and you also, Ibaka is still hurt. So,
oh my gosh, yeah.
That's who we're
deep team.
Yeah. It's a good find for him.
Who's more likely to pick up that scoring slack for Lou Will? Because in a perfect world, he was giving them buckets, not this year. But in order for them to win, they're going to need that bench scoring punch. Production. Is it Mann or is it going to be Reggie Jackson?
I think it's going to be Reggie Jackson. I like Mann more as just like you throw him in there and he's not like necessarily, I know he put up 23, but just more of his impact doesn't necessarily have to be on the stat sheet. Defending, just overall being like a winning type player. I do like Reggie Jackson more for scoring wise, just because I've seen more from him. He's a vet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this team has a lot of versatility. Just looking at this roster right here, like a lot of good wings that sometimes Luke Kennard gives them 15 points too. So there's just a lot of versatility there. Josh, let's get you on this. Where do you kind of stand as far as you could go the Terrence Mann route? You can go just the Clippers versatility route. What do you have to add here?
I'm gonna hit the reverse and talk about the Sixers because quite honestly, we're talking a lot about the Clippers, but this is a game Philly, in my opinion, should have won. The third and fourth quarter had Ben Simmons disappear. I think he had 3 second half points. That's kind of a bad, I can't believe I'm saying get Tobias Harris some help, but the guy had 29, 7, and 6.
Also here, I'll cut you off here. Just the middle quarters, second and third, Clippers outscored the Sixers 68-54. So it kind of matches up with your whole Ben Simmons kind of disappearing thing. Continue.
And I mean, he didn't even do anything else. I don't expect Ben Simmons to give me 30, but I expect him to give me more than 2 assists as the starting point guard. I mean, Seth Curry didn't have a great game, and they didn't get too much on the bench, not only scoring, but defensively too. I mean, this is probably one of those games where it's you miss Joel Embiid because, they can only do so much, but I think this was still in their grasp. So not to take away from the Clippers.
Yeah, exactly. No, yeah. So we're kind of beating up on the Sixers here. So are we completely past no Embiid? They have an excuse because they've proven they can win without him. Are we done giving built-in excuses like that because no Embiid?
No, because I mean this team is good, but they're the number one. They're still the number 1 seed. They're 8-2 in their last 10. But I think it's still got to be like this team is missing their best player, and I think in any situation, that's a thing that you should be concerned about. Like, and like they're not gonna win like some of these games, like the Clippers, or like when they're playing like high ranked teams, they're just gonna blow some of them just because they're losing that extra sufficient body. So I still give them the excuse, maybe not as much, but I still think you can't really blame it on this team because they're still playing really well.
Thoughts on the Sixers, George?
And you can kind of just lay it out like, yeah, no Embiid, it's all right, just stay healthy. But you do want to see the Sixers beating top teams, but it's not the biggest worry. Like, you'll have Embiid there in the long run, hopefully. But I don't think we need to make it an excuse, and I also don't think we need to make it like a big deal. It's just, you move on. Oh well.
I mean, to take a look at. Like, they traded Tony Bradley, was their starting center without Embiid,
and they start Dwight. Oh, they don't start Dwight. They start
Mike Scott, who gave them 30 minutes and 3 points.
That was
kicked out of there.
I mean, I know I always mention like Tony Bradley's a joke, but like he was a big body, and like I know Dwight's their backups, and they're gonna have Embiid there obviously, so they're good enough at center. But like for right now, no Tony Bradley might hurt them. As crazy as that sounds.
I mean, but we did also make the point that a guy like George Hill was needed.
Oh, they won the trade. But
yeah.
I'm saying for this game, it might catch up to them until Embiid.
Yeah, but I mean,
at center
in the long run, you'll take losing a game for a need that will.
Obviously,
postseason.
So yeah, overall, good one for the Clips. Sixers probably get back on track next game when they play, someone who's not the Clippers or a top 3 seed.
What if they're playing Brooklyn?
Are they playing Brooklyn?
I have no idea.
Don't say that.
I'll look it up.
You look it up, and I'll talk about the game of the night on Saturday. It was the Kings beating the Cavs 198 due to a Harrison Barnes buzzer beater. I'm sure everyone saw the clip. Full court heave. 2 Harrison Barnes pass, that is. And then Harrison Barnes turned around 3, very similar to that LeBron James one against the Washington Wizards a few years back. This game had 11 ties and 12 lead changes, and De'Aaron Fox had 36. No Jared Allen here, so the Cavs were out rebounded big time. Now they play Larry Nance at center. Before I get you guys' final thoughts on this game, George, what's so funny?
They play Denver.
Oh no! Ooh, that's not good. They better not start my Scott.
Uh-oh. Anyways, let's get back to where we were.
Let's get back into Larry Nance at center and De'Aaron Fox having 36 points. Thoughts on the final seconds of the game, or you guys? I mean, I'll tell you right now, De'Aaron Fox was hooping to end this game. And I'll break it down for you guys. The Kings are kind of down late against the Cavs. De'Aaron Fox got him back. Colin Sexton down 1, 8 seconds left, goes full court, puts a layup up, gets fouled, goes 2 for 2 from the line, and then the Harrison Barnes buzzer beater ensues. So where do you guys want to go with this one?
This is gonna be like not about the game, but I do remember when Fox got his contract extension, people were kind of calling it out a bit because I think he got extended around the time of the what was that around the time BI got extended or Jalen or
BI got extended last year.
But yeah, everyone was kind of like,
was it the Donnie Mitchell and Tatum one?
Probably
around that time.
Probably, and everyone was.
I think he was first.
Everyone's like, "Oh, this guy's kind of just like the odd man out." These two are like proven their worth of that contract, and De'Aaron wasn't. And I never thought that. I always liked his game, but yeah, he's had a very, very good season. And unfortunately, the Kings' record won't. Nobody's gonna notice it as much because they're piss poor. But he is definitely worth the money. He is their future. They build around him, and even though they took a point guard, which I kind of questioned, they make it work with starting Fox and Halliburton and Hield somehow. They kind of run small until Rashawn Holmes, but they make it work some of the time.
So I'll start with this. Fox in the year, 24, 8, and 3 on 47% shooting. So he obviously deserves that contract. I think I ranked him. I think we ranked Ja, Fox, and Shea. I think we all had Fox first.
Yeah, we did.
So yeah. We're all on the same page here. If I asked you, George, how many games back the Kings are of the 10th seed, what would you say?
2.5. That's my lucky guess.
1 game.
Oh wow!
Back from the Warriors. Warriors on a 4-game losing streak. Sacramento on a 4-game win streak. Sacramento does this. They've had multiple
exactly.
5-game win streaks, 5-game losing streaks. So if they can keep this up, and I'm not talking about keep the winning streak up, just not like kind of have the good good last 10 record. Because right now it's at 7-3.
Are you saying their consistency is the inconsistency?
Exactly. Thank God you said that. Now my head hurts. But yeah. So they're 1 game back from the Warriors. I don't know what Steph's like.
He's going to be out more games.
He's going to be out more games. They're going to sneak in there. It's going to be up to Steph to get him back because Warriors are not going to win without Steph at all.
No, Steve Kerr also said they're not chasing wins, so maybe they want that T-Wolves pick and their pick.
If they're chasing wins, one of the Pelicans or Kings are getting in. And if we're going to have the talk right now, Pelicans are a game and a half back and Kings are a game back. Who's getting that 10 seed if the Warriors fall out and start chasing draft picks?
I've gone on record in saying that I expected the Pelicans to get there. So I mean, I'm gonna have to, I can't front run like Josh does and pick the Kings because they're ahead. So I'm gonna stay with the Pelicans.
Well, Josh, we'll get you in here again. Who's gonna take that 10 seed if the Warriors keep chasing draft picks?
Well, unlike George, I have been on record saying the Pelicans will not make it to the play-ins.
I'm Kings gang.
I will have to say Kings.
Although Zion, we're not going to deep dive in any of his games, but he's been putting up.
We're going to have to count how many primetime games we get.
That's true, yeah. So right now for the Pelicans, they're 5-5 their last 10. Kings are 7-3. So both are trending upwards. Like I said, Zion's putting up monster numbers, but I mean that's not to discredit what De'Aaron Fox been doing. I think last week he had a 40 bomb. So 2 very good young teams, and I think it definitely is up to Halliburton to kind of be that because up their starting lineup, the Kings are not going to get anything from their bench. DeLon Wright, my man, Crush had 4 points, so nothing really there. So hopefully he could be that bench scorer that I thought they were getting. But yeah, it's all up to that starting lineup, and De'Aaron Fox, absolute hooper, should be able to carry them. In my opinion, if the Warriors fall out. Anything else to add from that game as far as nothing really from the Cavs side? Just want to really mention it because that Harrison Barnes buzzer beater probably best of the season so far. But moving on to Sunday, March 28th, Hawks lose to the Nuggets 102-126. Aaron Gordon had 13 in his first game for the Nuggets. The Lakers beat the Magic 96-93. Otto Porter almost sent the game to OT, but luckily nothing happened. Always a good time watching the Hornets play, and this time it was an overtime loss against the Suns, 101-97. This game was dominated by Devin Booker and Devontae Graham, both scoring over 30. Hope you guys are able to catch this one. What did you guys see from it? I'll start with Josh.
There's the reason he's on my underrated team. Mikal Bridges, 6 steals. That goes a long way. This is just a good game. I think the only other thing I can really say about this game is how bad the passing is, like a lot worse than I thought without LaMelo Ball. Their leader in assist was Cody Martin with 4. That's not great. He came off the bench too. So I think the Hornets have a phenomenal amount of scoring talent. They just kind of struggled to move the ball a little bit, and Mikal Bridges did a good job taking advantage of that. So I think that's where they miss LaMelo Ball the most, just being that floor general.
So before I go to George here, they only lost the assist battle by 1, which is weird playing a team with Chris Paul. Exactly. So that was just how the game was going. And then also it was a pretty low scoring game, so maybe that's why it was. But George, I guess, yeah, Josh kind of led into it. Is this team kind of like still pretty legit without LaMelo Ball? Because the Suns have been some pretty close games with some teams that don't deserve to be in the close games with them, and they still do pull them out. But is this kind of like a fluke by the Suns, like letting them stay around? Or like the Hornets, like for real? Because it seems like every night, Rozier, Graham, Hayward, and the Mikal Bridges show up, no matter what. And they have some legitimate players in that team.
Miles.
Oh, Miles, yeah. He played Mikal, though. That was a fun. That was a little fun thing.
No, I mean, I feel like Phoenix had a down game, but Charlotte doesn't need to be like totally legit because they play in the East and they're already 4th, 5th. I think they stick around only because it's kind of just like whoever shows up between the 4 of Rozier, Graham, Monk, and then a PJ Washington, heck, even Gordon Hayward too. So like any of those 5 on any given night can show up. And like we've seen, Graham had 30. I think Malik Monk had 30 the other night in their first game.
I can check for you. I know he didn't play this game. He was a DMP this game.
He didn't play this game, but I think he had
The Miami game. I'm checking that for you right now.
I believe he had 30. But just to continue my point,
32. Yeah, good stuff.
Thank you. So yeah, those guys are all going to contribute, and their team ball, like just how they play, it's gonna keep them stable in the East.
Yeah, I mean, because it's always. I think LaMelo Ball's like, or I guess you could say just being around that team was a bigger impact than like his game. And he was playing a great game too, but like he's still at every game with them. Just having a run, I think, is really keeping this team there too. And then, yeah, like we were talking about, like they played their players heavy minutes, but I mean, you're watching Devontae Graham going toe to toe with Devin Booker. Like in those crunch minutes, like he was hitting 3 after 3 after 3, and there were diddly D's to go around like the whole game. So I mean,
Terry.
see, it was a fun game. They like those 3 guys I mentioned are the only ones that played over 30 minutes. So it seems like he's got a strict rotation to it. He sticks to it, and they play nice. PJ Washington a donut, but 12 boards. So
yeah.
Oh, he yawned. Oh, we better. That's the cue to move on. He's tired of the Hornets. Diddly D. Last game from the recap. Blazers beat the Raptors 122-117. What was fun about this one was the first game since the trade for both teams, since Norman Powell trade. Norm had 13 on 6 shots, and Gary Trent Jr. had 6 on 10 shots, both getting the start. It was also Nurk's first game playing real minutes, and he had 10 on 7 shots. What stuck out here? I know it stuck out for Josh, so I'll start with him because he hates a certain player. But Josh, start us off here.
Yeah, like you said, 2 of 10, 1 of 5 from the field. Yeah. Norman Powell only shot 6 shots, but they had 13 points. Very important thing to note, they did start him. I don't know if that's going to be an ongoing trend, but George was talking about, I don't know if Norman Powell's going to be able to produce. Terry Stotts was taking notes because he put him in that starting lineup right away. Like,
thanks for listening, Terry.
No hesitation.
And Toronto scored 41 in the first quarter. So
I mean, this game felt like I was like thinking, Toronto and their bench. I mean, their bench put in good minutes. Like Rodney Hood, got playing time for the first time in like 3 months and looked decent. So early on, you would think that Toronto was just going to be able to hold on to the strong start, but Portland just kind of chipped away. The Raptors also only scored 10 points in the third quarter, so that's kind of where they lost it completely. Yeah. But overall, I think I told you the Blazers offense now with Norman Powell, they can be in any game at any time. And if Norman continues to be the X factor, like they're never out of a game just because of how much offensive firepower they have now.
George.
The biggest thing maybe is that Fred VanVleet looks a lot more comfortable playing the starting point guard position. He said that. I think even coming into the season, he said he likes it more when he's able to run the offense. But, when Kyle Lowry's playing, it's obviously mostly going to be him. Gary Trent still getting acclimated, even though I don't think he's had one good game since coming here. But Rodney Hood is a sneaky
name where?
To watch. Huh?
Coming where? To Toronto?
Yeah.
This is his first game.
Oh. Whoops.
Whoopsie. Sorry, guys. It's 4 a.m. for George. First game, though. That was why we're covering it. It's first game for Norm and
Sorry. Because I thought you said 1 for 6 he went in like his last game or whatever. Anyway.
No, I call Gary Trent Jr. Mr. 1 of 9 because
okay. But I do expect Rodney. I even think Nick Nurse said something like he wasn't a throwaway in the trade or something. But yeah, he's gonna be like a kind of an X factor for them, and just how they defend. He's kind of the prototype you want coming off the bench.
So we're kind of seeing this is only player that the Blazers are missing now is Zach Collins, and like, do you guys like kind of see? Do you guys kind of see him really fitting in as far as like anywhere here? Do they kind of have their set? Because I mean, Melo is getting almost like constant 30 off the bench as kind of like their main scorer, and then they got Derek Jones Jr. and his Cantor now that Nurk is he's back on the court. Where do you guys kind of see this going?
I think Collins is the closing guy because Nurk only played 19 and Cantor's only playing 18, and I think when Collins gets back fully healthy, I think he's big enough to play the center when it comes to crunch time, and I also think he's good enough defensively, and I also think he runs the floor a lot better than Nurk does.
Oh yeah.
So I think, and I mean, Zach Collins is like the guy that you really have to watch in order to understand how valuable he is to this team. So when he finally gets healthy, hopefully this team, that closing lineup is, wow, that closing lineup is really good.
Yeah, it's good. And then Zach Collins will have so much needed defense too.
Yeah, of
because
course.
I don't know how much of a step Nurk has after another injury. We'll have to see him get like real minutes and stuff, but they're gonna need a lot of defense if they're
You
gonna
guys think
roll into starting Norm.
You're concerned about Nurk with getting run after an injury? I haven't seen Zach Collins play since I think
game 1 of the.
It's all upper body though. That's the thing.
He has a fractured left ankle, Lehman.
He does? Uh-oh. Man, I don't know. I was thinking of the shoulder he had last year.
Fractured left ankle, and then in the bubble it was a stress. Maybe that's related, but he had a stress injury.
To his shoulder.
Yikes. Okay, well then you finish this off here, George, because I did not
No, for closing, I actually wouldn't mind Cantor. I think he did well. I know sometimes people see food out there, but I think he held it down enough while Nurk was out. If Nurk stays healthy though, up until the playoffs, he's probably just gonna take that role because they're more used to him starting and closing.
Well, yeah, because Cantor was playing great. Yeah, he had a few almost 20 games there, and then Nurk was immediately back in the starting lineup. So I mean, they trust him a lot more, and he's probably gonna be getting some more run. That's the recap. You know, very, very, very short and sweet.
Making fun of me for saying Rogny. That's great.
Rogny Hood. That it's Rogny Hood's favorite podcast, 2.5 Hoopers. But George, I'm gonna need another favor from you. You got to give us the halftime report. It's the halftime report for 2 reasons. It's most time the halfway through the show, and you're the half Hoopers. So fill us in on everything. Mostly buyouts. I'm gonna give a sneak peek. It's some buyouts here. So.
Shocking move here. Lamarcus Aldridge signs with the Brooklyn Nets on a vet minimum contract. So I was surprised by this. I was out and I was working a little bit, and I look at my phone and I think, oh, signs with the Nets. That's great.
You were working?
Yeah, I actually was, and I didn't have service, and my phone blows up and all that.
You
good
don't have
stuff.
service where you work?
Where were you working?
This isn't a workers pod. This is a basketball pod.
But where'd you lose service? Where were you working?
So were you guys surprised by this as well? And what are the implications of this signing?
Big word.
Implications.
But I mean, I'll start here. I mean, I thought it was Miami, and then what did he say? You told me, so I'll let you tell everyone else. Why did Lamarcus Aldridge not start with Miami?
Let me find it because I thought I had it pinned on.
There's a funny quote from Lamarcus why he didn't join the Heat, but I'll focus on him joining the Nets. I don't really understand. I mean, I get you collect all the Infinity Stones from the 2015 All-Star team if you're the Nets, but I mean they were kind of set, and I do like this more than if they went after Drummond. Just because I feel like Aldridge fits better there. But yeah, I think it's definitely not as good as the Blake signing, because we kind of talked about that earlier. But yeah, decent. I mean, good signing. Lamarcus still has a lot left in the tank, in my opinion. But it'll be very interesting to see how Steve Nash fits him in there. Josh, what did you kind of think of this?
I think he's just one of those players that his impact isn't too big, but he's just a household name. I said it kind of as a half joke, half like expected, just because they're signing everybody at this point. It's kind of ridiculous. Mm-hmm. But I think the most I see from him is like a 15-minute like starter or 15-minute like off the bench guy. Like he's not going to do much. I think this is kind of a little bit of ring chasing for him. But I mean,
I think it's a lot of ring chasing.
He's still got juice.
So yeah, George, give him the quote, and then I'll finish up the thoughts here.
So someone asked an Aldridge associate, maybe an agent, someone close to him, what changed his mind? Because the expectation was that he would sign with the Heat. The Heat also expected that too, so they were caught off guard. He said he was convinced to join Brooklyn because they are in a good position to compete for a championship. And to end it off, the Heat recent losing streak of 6 didn't help, which doesn't make any sense at all because they are still
it does.
You know what you could do? Go help stop the losing streak, Lamarcus, instead of go ring chase and play 10 a night.
Running from the grind. The top comment, sucker move. I hope the Heat eliminate the Nets. Oh, and then another one said, wait, I was told their culture is good.
What was that? Was that from the little Mickey burner?
Was that George? Did George tweet that?
Yeah, did George Martin tweet that with the Gucci belt in the profile? I mean, I don't
21.
see like it's Lamarcus Aldridge. I'm in the camp of like he has a lot left in the tank, but like where does he fit? Like what we talk about, like, and how Blake's kind of fit into that. Like they switch everything with their bigs. Like they got to have an athletic bigs while they roll into Uncle JG. Like they don't need more offense, but I mean, they definitely need him right now. It's an A+ for right now, just because they'll probably start him, get a lot of offense out of there, and hopefully James Harden can take a few more minutes of breaks every game. But I want to hear George. What do you think of this move?
Definitely caught off guard by I wanted him to go to the Heat so badly so he could fit into that power forward 4 role that I've been asking for. Just another body for the Nets. I think he has a lot left in the tank, seeing that he dropped damn near 30 on the Lakers 2-3 months ago. But yeah, it's a good signing. I mean, we'll see what his role is. If it takes away from Nick Claxton, though,
It takes away from Playboy Cardi. I ain't feeling it.
wouldn't be
I ain't
mad.
feeling it.
Wouldn't be mad. But yeah, it's whatever. Just how much help does Kate? No, I'm kidding. Moving on, though, another buyout, like Lehman said. Andre Drummond makes his long-awaited decision because the guy had to drag it out over 3 days. He's signing with the Lakers.
The decision part 2.
What do you guys envision his role as? And what's the outlook for this signing? I'm going to start with Lehman again because we kind of had a debate on this today. I don't think we're going to go into it much here, though, but let's hear it.
Well,
Why not?
So I mentioned last pod talking about buyouts. I didn't think he fit with the Nets just because they weren't desperate enough to try and get a center, because I feel like they're kind of set there, which is why the Lamarcus Aldridge one caught me off guard. But I think the need really came down to it, and that's why the Celtics and Lakers were his finalists. And I really think that's, I mean, he'll come give good minutes, but I mean, he hasn't proven he can win too much. And like he also, like, he doesn't solve the rim protection issue, because the rebounding issue will be gone once we get healthy, just because, I mean, Trez gets boards, AD should get boards, LeBron is always flirting with triple doubles, so the board should be there, and he won't have to do that. He'll get us more boards and everything. That would be an advantage for us now, but the rim protection is still not solved. And now we get worse as far as switching stuff, although it can't get much worse than switching stuff with Marc Gasol. But I think he'll come in there and start, and hopefully I'm proven wrong, because, you know, I'm a Laker fan, but I really think this was a move that had to be made. I give it like a B+ because we had to do it, because we needed centers. We let JaVale and Dwight go in the offseason. But yeah, I don't have too high of hopes for Andre Drummond here.
Josh.
Yeesh. I mean, Lehman really wants to be negative Nancy. I kind of agree with him, but I mean, I am on record saying Andre Drummond's the most worthless 2020 of all time. But I mean, I like it. It's another name. It's another body. We'll see how much production he's actually going to give them. Because George did bring up a good point. He's never really been set up for success, like ever. I don't think so. This will be an interesting thing to see. I don't know how much production. I kind of lean toward Lehman. I don't think he's going to be too much. But at the same time, he's big. He's strong. So, I mean, pause. But I think he can help us in a little bit more than Lehman's expecting.
I'll give my quick 2 cents. I don't envision him as some like savior, but I think in a specific winning role, what we ask him to do is small, you know. And it's also, we've seen clips. I mean, he's sharing the court with JaVale McGee at times, and he's dribbling and handling the ball and, you know, having Shaqtin' plays. He's not going to take the he's not going to have the ball a lot in LA, and he's taking like 15 shots per game.
Well, George just got interrupted a little bit, so I guess I'll take over for that, because I have a few more Drummond. So if you're not watching on YouTube, go look on YouTube. His dad came in, but it's like 4 a.m. over there. What's his dad doing? But yeah, as far as Drummond goes, I do like it just because we needed to do it. As far as that goes, as far as needing a center, but I just don't know if he's going to fix the real problem we have, which is rim protection. I mean, I mean, he's kind of like Tristan Thompson. Like, I mean, LeBron does turn out like he gets the best of everyone. Do you think like he can kind of be like that Tristan Thompson role? And then, hey, George, there you are. But I mean,
Oh
because like
my
I said,
God.
I mean, only reason I like this is because he didn't go to the Clippers. Because I feel like I'm just more scared of him
I
on the
only like it because
Clippers.
he didn't go to Boston.
I mean, Boston is a
mean,
bigger loser than Lakers are a winner of this Andre Drummond
Look at it like
situation.
this. He made Timofey Mozgov. He tricked us. He tricked our own front office into thinking
Good old
Timothy
Mitchie.
was a competent starting center. And like you look at JaVale, I actually saw a tweet that JaVale and Dwight's field goal percentages from last year with the Lakers and this year with their new teams dropped like almost 10%. So he's going to get good passes. I mean, he's going to get, those great setups from LeBron. I mean, LeBron had Ante Zizic looking competent, at some times.
Okay, Ante is just nice though.
So, I mean, I don't expect him to be playing meaningful minutes like come down the postseason. Hopefully it's like a Dwight sort of role, even though he might be starting. That's what I hope. I don't think he's going to be this 30 minutes per game, 25 and 20, animal.
If he's scoring 25 and 20, I know we losing games. I know we are. The more he has to contribute, the less I trust us winning games. And I haven't really thought about it like, I mean, if he's playing 15 minutes a game, he's solid. So, I mean, I don't have high hopes, but it was a signing that needed to happen just because we're very low on centers.
So also before we move on, Mitchell Robinson fractured his foot. Yeah, he's going to be out indefinitely. Just another crushing blow to the Knicks. I don't know what they're going to do at center now. Taj Gibson minutes, I guess. Josh,
it's Taj Gibson minutes.
Josh, what you thinking about this before we wrap it up?
I'm so upset because he just got back from injury and he had like 3 good games,
Yeah.
even though he was on the bench, and then he's hurt again. That sucks.
Well, Tibbs is a coach of the year candidate. He'll figure it out.
Free Mitch.
So,
Free Mitch.
Lehman, take us away.
Nerlens Noel is going to be answer. He's normally started for the whole season while Mitch has been out, or in the doghouse as far as Tibbs go. I love Mitch Robinson. I really do. I think he's a great center. I think he was one of the steals of his drafts. I hope he comes back soon, but I mean, that's not a very light injury. So, I mean,
yeah, unfortunately,
Nerlens Noel will be the answer, and then, it's. Actually, he started. Okay, I was like, did they trade Taj Gibson? No, he played 34 minutes last game. So that's how it goes. But yeah. What? Rogny? You still laughing about Rogny Hood?
George
George's
in a different world today.
Yeah, George.
What? That's it. That's it. We're done.
You gotta tell me in the audience, Grigor. Come on.
I said, take us away.
George is in a different world right now, and it's making me laugh.
But one of the best 20-minute segments of my life is when I get to hear George talk about injuries and trade rumors. And there's no more trade rumors, so it's just injuries. So it's good to hear. But we're gonna wrap it up here with a segment. We've been clowning on James Harden a lot, or not clowning on James Harden, but clowning on the Rockets for trading James Harden, and just the haul they got back for him. So I want to hear some of your guys' most lopsided trades in NBA history. You could go like obvious as like going way back in the day, and people were getting like Lou Alcindor for pennies and Bill Russell for a first rounder, or you can go more modern with like the KG trades. So I'll start with George.
Mine's quick. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. The Bucks had a absolute mega star, one of the top 3 greatest players of all time. Traded him to the Lakers for Elmore Smith, Brian Winters, Junior Bridgman, and Dave Myers. And Kareem, as we all know, went on to win 5 chips with the Lakers. And that's about it. Nothing much more needs to be said there.
Josh,
why'd you spoil mine? And in 2007, 2008, the Timberwolves decided to get rid of disgruntled Kevin Garnett, and here's what they received in return for Hall of Famer Kevin Garnett. 4 years of Al Jefferson, 3 years of Ryan Gomez, 1 year of Gerald Green, 2 years of Sebastian Telfair, 0 years for Theo Ratliff, and 2 first-round picks, which ended up being Johnny Flynn and Wayne Ellington.
Wayno.
That's the gang that got traded for Kevin Garnett.
So there's a few more, and this is my favorite one. I mentioned it before. I'm going the Kyrie Irving trade, but not the move Danny Ainge made. The move that the Clippers made. So the Clippers wanted Mo Williams. They're like, okay, we'll swap point guards with you, Baron Davis for Mo Williams. But they started talking a little bit more. Mo was a little bit better than Baron Davis. He was coming off an All-Star team, I think, 2 years ago. So they're like, we'll throw in a first and Baron Davis for Mo Williams and Jamario Moon. That first turned into Kyrie Irving, and he was much better than anyone in that trade was involved. They could have had Kyrie Irving, Chris Paul, and Blake Griffin. Very interesting to think about that. And then also just some kind of boring ones, but I mean important ones. The Hawks traded Bill Russell to the Celtics for Ed McConaughey and Cliff Hagan. I know who Bill Russell is. I don't know who those guys
disrespect Cliff Hagan.
Okay.
Water.
And then the Sixers trading Wilt to LA because Wilt wanted to have more of a nightlife scene for Jerry Chambers, Archie Clark, and Darrell Imhoff. So, yeah. Any other kind of trades? I'll bring this up, I guess. Just early impressions. Who got fleeced more? The Thunder in the James Harden trade or the Rockets in the James Harden trade? What was that?
I'm trying to think of what the Thunder got
back.
back.
The Thunder in the James Harden trade?
Yeah.
When they traded him to the Rockets.
Oh.
The Thunder got Kevin Martin, a pick that turned into Steven Adams, and another throwaway guy. I remember that played a few minutes.
The Rockets. The Rockets trading James Harden away for diddly squat because
I think it's worse at this point. Yeah, go ahead.
It's bad. Like it's horrible. Like they have talent, but like man, like when you were trading Harden, there was in Oklahoma to Houston, there was still that uncertainty as to whether he could become that starter. Like I don't think anybody in 2013 was screaming like, oh, here comes James Harden, the MVP of the future. Like nobody was saying that. Everybody was wondering if he could put up starting minutes because in all the games that he was starting in Oklahoma, it was like so there was some risk to that. And they got Steven Adams, who was a very nice consolation prize. And if they didn't suck 3 games in a row, they probably would have had a championship with that team and without injuries. So I think it's really hard to say that. Who knows? Maybe they draft like miracle players, but it's really hard to go against what the
Rockets are fumbling right now.
Rockets got, or what the Thunder got for Harden.
I agree.
Rather.
You agree, George?
Yeah, especially because you look at it's just not even the fact that they only got Depot back. They could have had Dinwiddie. I mean, not Dinwiddie. They could have had Allen. They could have had LeVert, and then also flipping Oladipo once, you struck out on other people. You flip it for a journeyman in Avery Bradley and Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. So you only have 4 unprotected firsts that like aren't swaps. And I mean, it's going to be hard for them to hit a home run in any of them. Honestly, we'll have to see.
Yeah. James Harden, you're never going to get fair value for James Harden. It seems like, so, that was some of our most lopsided trades. I'm sure there's a lot more, but we hit the phones. I like Josh's a lot just because that one
sucks.
That's why he likes Danny Ainge.
Fun fact: Kevin Garnett won his first and only championship and Defensive Player of the year after. So
that trade is one of the 1 years where like they get him and it's a chip right away. That and then LeBron and AD.
Well, they also signed Ray Allen and drafted Rondo.
But it all worked
James
like the first year, which is very normally it takes 2 years.
Danny Ainge.
But Danny Ainge, he hasn't made a good move since 2015. But hey, he do be getting KG in 08.
He drafted Tatum in 17. That was the last move he did. He fleeced the Sixers.
Before we let you guys go, Hi J Sports Podcast, and also we're gonna do our look ahead. So, George, did you remember the look ahead?
I did. I have it. It is the Bucks and Clippers rematch of that really, really good Sunday game we had a few weeks ago when Giannis exploded there at the end with that big dunk. Battle of the contenders again. Want to see how he scores again late game because his footwork that game, if I remember correctly, scoring a lot in the post, Kawhi and then their closing game because in that game too, they settled for jumpers. Need to see less of that.
That's NBA TV on Monday. That's nightcap. Josh, You know what mine is, so don't take it.
I'm not going to
But
take yours. I'm actually going to go with the same time slot as yours, though. 4:30. The Heat, desperate for a win, are going to take their talents to New York. I don't know if Julius Randle's going to play, but RJ Barrett's been playing phenomenal without Randle, so hopefully that'll continue. So I think both teams really need this win, and we'll have to see.
I feel like the Heat need it more. That's it's
Just a
up to
wee
6
bit.
games now. So
Yeah.
that's a
We
tough
don't want to
losing
see
streak.
7.
Everyone will look at the schedule and that was mine. Not TNT Pelicans, National TV Pelicans take on the Celtics at 4:30 on Monday. Should be a good game. Celtics on a roll here too. Should be Fournier's first game, unless he's battling injury I'm not aware of. And then Pelicans also look pretty healthy. They stood pretty pat for the trade deadline, except for Trey
Tatum
Redick.
versus Zion.
Yeah, so Zion averaging 26 in the season here. Should be a good game because I don't know how the Celtics are going to guard him because they're probably going to start Robert Williams unless Tristan Thompson's back. So yeah, that'll be very, very interesting to see how they do it.
Yeah.
But that's gonna do it for tonight's episode. Thanks for watching and listening. If you like, make sure to follow us at THHoopers on Instagram and Twitter and say what's up. I guarantee a good response to George never caught lacking without his phone. Wow, I'm slurring my words. It is late. Yeah, as always, you comment, you respond to anything, you get a shout out on the next show. Thanks for being an OG, and take care, guys.